That's
Here we go. Here we go. Let's get this thing on the tracks, man. Play caller. Let's talk play calling. Oh my gosh. Ryan Day lets the cat out of the bag this week, guys. He's still calling plays. I knew he couldn't let this thing go, man. I'm telling you, there will be a day. There will be a day when Ryan Day says, okay, Brian, time for you to call plays. But it was not going to be at the start of this season. I just felt like it was too soon for him, for someone who's never done it before. Maybe he lets them call plays in the fourth quarter when they're up by, 4 or 5 scores and things of that nature. But too much on the line right now with a new quarterback and an offense that's going to be breaking in, that new signal caller, for him to just turn that over right away. Aaron, you're back up, man. Welcome back. Your thoughts, will put you right there on the spotlight. Ryan Day says, I'm still calling plays.
I'm not surprised by that. When he said he was gonna, when he was gonna let Brian call the plays, I kind of was like, we'll see about that, because just behaviorally, when you take over the reins and you're an offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach, that's just what you do. You know what I mean? It's hard to let go of that. And I'll be honest, man, if Ryan Day can call plays aggressively, like every game, the way that he did against Georgia, I don't see a way that we lose. That's what it takes. That's how you call a ball game right there. Now, does that mean Brian Hartline can't do that? No, it's not what it means. But I think that Ryan Day, maybe that lit a fire under him to, he does, it showed him what he really is capable of when he's tuned in, when the complacency's gone. It's not a Big Ten game. You're not playing Illinois. Every game should be played the way we played Georgia.
I like angry Ryan Day.
Yeah,
Fist
no lie.
fist pumping Ryan Day, aggressive Ryan Day. When he was up in the booth when Urban Meyer was head coach, and it wasn't his players down on the field that he was calling plays for, it was Urban's players. He was much more aggressive. I think when he came down out of the booth and became the head coach, and he felt the magnitude of the game from the sideline, it was a different world for him. He let it all hang out in the Peach Bowl, and that's what I want. That's what we need. And that's what I think this offense is going to need. Plus, he needs to be there with the quarterback, massage that thing here at the beginning of the season, because that is probably, if not the biggest question mark. It's up there. It's got to be up there. So, Chris, your thoughts, man?
You know what? Don't give me the Brian Hartline isn't ready or we need this to massage the quarterback. No, this is Ryan Day's thing. He is a this is all about ego and power, and he needs this. Let me tell you why he needs this. He hasn't successfully taken down Michigan in 2 years. He hasn't secured a natty. He's an offensive guy. I've said it all along. I think he's a great offensive mind, despite what I may think about him as a head coach. I think he needs to validate himself by getting out there and calling the plays that beat Michigan and that win a national title, because ultimately he's a competitor. I truly believe that. He is a competitor. He's got to massage. This isn't about massaging the quarterback. This is about massaging his own ego and proving to himself and critics like myself that he can do it.
What did I say? Did I not say quarterbacks? Did I say running backs?
No, you said quarterbacks.
I'll say,
Okay.
I thought you said quarterbacks.
All right. I was like, that would make sense if I didn't say quarterbacks, but I was like, okay, what did I say? He needed a massage. Oh,
Don't say that around a Cleveland fan, man. It makes us nervous. Quarterbacks and massages just don't sit well with us.
Chris, you're done, buddy. That was... Oh my gosh.
Speaking of being Cleveland fans, I felt terrible for you. First kickoff, poor guy breaks his leg. First right opening
What?
kickoff after being hurt, man. Oh man. So let me flip this question on its head and ask you this then, Chris. I'll start with you since you took that stance that you did. When and if and how does Ryan Day allow Brian Hartline to call plays then? Eventually, it's going to have to happen if Brian Hartline is going to be the OC.
Yeah. And I think you've got it right, Eric. I think he eases him in the fourth quarter right now in blowout games, but I don't see him until he, like I said, until he calls a successful game plan against that team up north and beats them, until he calls that successful game plan that wins Ohio State a national title, I don't see him handing the duties over completely.
Okay. Aaron, your thoughts?
You know, I'm sorry, but I keep seeing in the chat, Day sees Brian doesn't have it. I know it's slightly off,
This
but I'm not.
this isn't about that. It's about Day's ego, I tell you.
I think that has a part to play in it, but I think that it's also Day's motivation. I think that it, like I said earlier, man, I think that it has a lot to do with a little bit of complacency
Mhm.
because he was calling some really weak games. Really weak games. They were questionable calls.
Conservative.
Well,
Conservative.
dude, you're on the 2 yard line. You're throwing the ball. Why wouldn't you just run it? That you see what I'm saying? Just not smart play calls, like against
Okay.
Oregon a couple years ago. It's not just exclusive to last season. It was the season before too. Like when we lost to
Right.
Oregon at home. Remember, we were inside the 5, 8, 7 yard line. We were close, and he threw the ball 3 straight times and settled for a field goal.
We couldn't. We didn't have. Well, we didn't have the toughness to push it.
You
We
still had
learned that.
Ryan Williams.
Yes, but who's often injured too.
Well, the whole running back room was injured last season. Come on, we got next man up. What happened to that?
So
Oh, don't say that, Aaron.
no, don't get me off on that. I blow up on that every single time. I channel my inner John Kennedy when that comment comes out. Chris says, boys, I'm hoping we'll discuss new rules. No more clock stoppages on the first downs, except for the last 2 minutes of each half. I noticed this in the Notre Dame game. It very much changed the pace of the game, given the fact that Notre Dame was establishing the run as well as Navy being a run-first team. That first half went by like that. There was 4 possessions for Notre Dame the entire first half. That was it. And they scored on all 4, mind you. And Navy, of course, didn't, and that's ball game. Aaron's not going to cry about that. He's an Army guy. So seeing Navy get their butt kicked was just absolutely fine with him. But did you guys, if you watched any of the games yesterday, did you not notice the new rule change, number one? And number two, I do feel like Ryan Day, that rule change might slightly give him kind of a let me call plays here at first, too. Let's feel this thing out. Chris?
I think it's going to change the way a lot of these high power offenses play. I think. Um, I I don't know. I like the speed of the game. I'm old school though. I loved Notre Dame, like you said, 4 offensive series in the first half. I don't see a problem with that if you score on all 4 and if you're running the ball down somebody's throat, you control the clock, you win the game. The end. I like it, but when you're talking about a team that passes a lot, that's going to try to, if you're trying to change personnel a lot, I think the biggest, and Aaron, you could, from a coach's standpoint, maybe tell me if I'm wrong here. I think the team that's hurt, or the side of the ball that hurts the most is the defense, especially specifically on that defensive line where you can't change guys in and out as much because you don't have the stoppage after each first down. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I tend to agree with you. I'm a little more on the old school side. However, what that does is it puts a lot more pressure on the offense to score those points,
Yes.
which can be disastrous or it can look really good. So
it's an NFL thing, and Ryan Day is experienced in the NFL.
that helps.
It definitely does.
It does help. So that's another reason why I just feel like Ryan Day at the beginning here is like let's keep it the way it is. Plus, I kind of like him doing this in all honesty because it shows that he's confident in himself. He's betting on himself. If he was like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. I'm going to turn this over to someone who hasn't done it yet. That shows a lot of lack of confidence. You know, plus I think Ryan Day thinks if I get this quarterback situation right, given the roster that we have, how we played Georgia last year, with the improvement that this defense is showing, we have a national championship caliber team.
I think that it does show some reservation on the part of Ryan Day towards Brian Hartline, because you're right. This would be his first year calling plays, and maybe Brian just hasn't shown him what what Day needed to see this in the offseason. You know, I mean, he's a heck of a recruiter. We know that. The proof is there, but there's no proof in his ability to call plays.
I think
Please
it's
try.
it's hard to say that he hasn't shown him anything when he really hasn't had the opportunity to do it though either.
Right,
Well,
right.
right, absolutely.
So
You know what he
Yeah.
has shown? Freaking recruit
yeah, no doubt.
Recruit and
And
coaching.
and develop.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's what he has shown. So that is true. But I'm good with Ryan Day calling plays. Let's ease somebody into the future. Let's not just go guns a blazing here. Game 1 against Indiana. So that's how I feel about that. Let's
Well,
move on. Yes, you got
if-
anything else?
The thing is maybe in that Western Kentucky game or another Youngstown State, maybe let Brian get those, call the plays there. I mean, I feel like even with no coaching staff, that's a win.
We
I
gotta have
think the second half you probably see him call plays in those games.
in the blowouts. Yeah, we got to have a quarterback first.
That's a fact. And that probably plays a factor in Day's decision too, because he needs to be on top of that situation.